Welcome. Wow. What kind of crowd could we ever get on a Thanksgiving morning other than a bunch of passionate hockey fans? Thanks for showing up. I think you'll be thankful that you did. So let's get the show on the road. We are very fortunate today to have the mayor. Jim Hovland has been our mayor for 12 years. And just a quick story, I saw the mayor at the memorial dedication on Memorial Day, and I talked to him about being kicking this event off, and he said, just remind me. And I called him a couple weeks ago, and he said, oh my, this is important. This is Edina Hockey. And he changed his Thanksgiving dinner by 3 or 4 hours just to be here to drop the puck. Mayor, will you come drop the puck?
All right, Robert, where are you going?
Right there. Thank you. There.
I'm trying to figure out how this works the best. I could hardly understand what Bruce was saying. Is this all right down at this level? Or do you have to be closer? What's better? This is better? All right, thanks, Joseph. All right, well, good morning, Braemar. Feels a little bit like a Sunday morning. If I was a preacher, we'd say, we shall all gather. But it seems like it's appropriate anyway because of the 50th anniversary celebration of Braemar. And we've got Susie Miller really put together some interesting things for us, and I'll try to do some of them from memory. But when this rink was first built in '65, some of you remember that. You were youngsters at the time. $500,000 to build this rink. And get this, 9 teams in the Lake Conference said they would use this as their home arena so we could make it work. And now we had to add a 4th sheet of ice here within the last couple of years, the backyard, just to accommodate the Edina kids, and we still don't have enough ice time. And when they first started, the first hockey team was 1950, and they had about, in those early days of the program, I think 100 and some kids. Now we're up to 1,200 and some kids, I think, participating in hockey alone, and not counting figure skating. So it's just astounding. And for this being Thanksgiving, I think the crowd turnout is terrific. And I just want to tell you how grateful I am to be your mayor, how grateful we all ought to be part of each other's lives, and living in a great town with great people. And so give yourselves a big round of applause for supporting our town and this arena. Thank you. I'm going to bring Bruce back up here, and it's so interesting when I know Bruce from the work he did with our neighborhoods as we looked at whether or not we should have neighborhood associations or give neighborhoods the opportunity to form and be in better communication with the city and with each other. But when I look at his hockey resume, if you want to call it that, he's basically got Edina hockey in his DNA. He was born in '52. And the first hockey team for Edina, as I said earlier, was 1950. And then he was on the first state championship team. And he was on the first national championship team for the Gophers. So I want to welcome back up Bruce Carlson, who is just Mr. Edina for hockey. So Bruce, come on back up.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Wow. Thanks so much. Let's move right into our next speaker, and you're going to have a kind of a recurring. Oh, by the way, I'm not as proficient as the mayor. Can you hear me? Can I speak louder? Is this okay? It's not the movie producer and director told me this isn't a theater, so we'll do our best with the vibrations. But you are going to have some themes today, and one of those themes is leadership. And the mayor has certainly provided that at the top, and it just trickles down from there. And the leader of Braemar Arena, Susie Miller.
Good morning and welcome to Braemar Arena. We're thrilled to have all of you here today. I was told I needed to try to talk slow. Anyone who knows me knows that's almost impossible, so I'll do my best. But I just wanted to welcome everyone. We are thrilled to host this event, and as Bruce said, what a great crowd to be here on Thanksgiving morning. So thank you for being here. The things that we get to see at Braemar Arena as staff is the excitement of Edina hockey. The kids that show up to play, they show up to play and they definitely want to play the sport we all love, but you can also see the pride that they have being an Edina Hornet. As I travel around to different arenas, people talk about Edina hockey, and it truly is the people, the traditions that make this community so great. It's the dedication, the volunteer coaches, the high school coaches that are so actively involved, the community, and it's a great we are as staff thrilled to be a part of that. So thank you very much and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Susie. Next, before we introduce our next speaker, I'd like to just ask if there's any hockey mom, if you were ever a hockey mom, if you could stand up. Is that all? Okay, stay standing, please stay standing. If you ever coached in Edina at any level, please stand up. All right. If you ever played at any level for 1 year in the Edina Hockey Association, please stand up. Okay? And if you were ever a volunteer or administrator, please stand up. And if you were ever a fan of Edina hockey, please stand up. All right. Thank you. I don't see anyone sitting. Thank you. I feel right at home. And continuing on that theme of leadership, but I think we'll also want to introduce passion, and we want to introduce tradition. Mike DeVoe is here to speak to us on behalf of the Edina Hockey Association. He is the current president. He is on his second year of that position. And we'd like to have Mike speak a little bit about the Hockey Association, the coaches, what they mean to this program, and then the Ikola Cup Foundation and what that's all about. Mike DeVoe, member of the 1982 state championship team, went to Harvard and played, and currently president of Ryland Homes. Mike DeVoe.
Thank you. As Bruce said, I had the opportunity growing up in Edina playing youth hockey for Edina, and then had the privilege of playing for the high school team with Coach Ikola. And when I think about Edina hockey, I think what makes it special, and it was kind of interesting that Bruce had everyone stand up, because I think what makes Edina unique and successful and so special is the people. And when you think about the Edina Hockey Association, we are the largest hockey association in the country. We have the largest boys association, the largest girls, and the largest overall. And it's a tremendous undertaking to manage that. And we really rely on volunteers. And, you know, from the administrators, the board members, the parent volunteers, the parent coaches, the non-parent coaches, they're really the heart and soul of Edina hockey, and that's really what makes it special. And I'm very privileged to be part of this historical exhibit. And when you think about Edina hockey, there's a tremendous history. And I think it's all of our responsibility to understand that history and to document it and to share it and to perpetuate it. I think, again, part of what makes the association so successful is the people, not only the people that are donating their time and dedicating their time, but it's the people that are coming back. And if you look around this room, I see a lot of people that grew up in Edina, played hockey as kids in Edina, and now they're back as parents, as coaches, and they're perpetuating that legacy, and they're handing it down to their kids. And that's what I think makes this whole historical exhibit so special, is it's an opportunity to document the tremendous history that we have, and to pass it on to future generations who will hopefully come back and keep that legacy of success and that tradition of excellence alive. EHA is very proud to be a presenting sponsor, and on behalf of the Edina Hockey Association and all of our volunteer coaches, as well as on behalf of Casey Hankinson and the Ikola Cup Foundation. Casey couldn't be here today, but the Ikola Cup Foundation is also a presenting sponsor, and I know that they're very proud, and we're all just really proud and privileged to be part of this, and happy to be here today. Thank you.
Mike, I'm sorry that I had to mention that you were a presenting sponsor, but on the back of your program you can see who our sponsors were, and we were so fortunate to have people support this effort, particularly Tradition Capital, Tradition Mortgage, as well as SafeNet Consulting, our title sponsors, and then it goes down from there, which we'll address as we go. But again, maybe we could just have, again, people stand that ever coached or assistant coached at any level in this organization. Please stand. I think we figured out there may be about 3,000 teams we've had, and maybe got 2 or 3 coaches, so there's probably 6,000 names, maybe 5,000. And I mean, it goes back to people like the founders of Stu McIntosh and Dave Thomas and Dr. Fox, and I'll begin missing hundreds of names: Jack Wright, the Bud Storms, the John Ryman's, the Carl Mosers, the Gene Nealons, the Dan Paviks, the Ted Greers, the Ken Yackles, Bart Larsons and Bob O'Connor, Jeff Johnson in more current years, Bill Smith, Rick Barnes, Pearson, Craig Johnson, Jordan Sender, and the names are endless. We are so fortunate to have those people giving back to this community. We're finally to the third period, and I guess the next speaker does not need, obviously, an introduction. But when they talk about Minnesota hockey icons, you know, we have the John Mariucci's, the Herb Brookses, the Bob Johnsons, and then you have the Lou Nannes, and then this next gentleman we thought maybe we should call the godfather of Edina hockey, but really, simply, he's a true gentleman, and he is just the legendary coach and really the heart and soul of Edina hockey tradition, Willard Ikola.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I certainly appreciate that. But I got to tell you, I coached for 33 years at Edina. I never stopped the puck. I never scored a goal. The kids did that. It was such a great place to coach. I think I was the luckiest guy to land a job in Edina. The first year was a tough year, not only the outside ice, because I was an inside hockey player ever since 8th grade in Evelyn, and I played inside for the rest of my career. And I come to start my coaching career in an outside rink. First thing I told Mr. Merriman, I got to buy some long underwear, as it will be a cold season. You really have to appreciate some of those young hockey players in those years. It was 7 years that we were outside. It was a very difficult time. They had to do a lot of work. I remember skating on the pond north of the school. Sometimes we'd have to hide behind the houses as the Edina police came to kick us off the pond. But that's all we had. I remember the guys flooding the rinks. We used to have 3 groups of guys that flooded. 10 o'clock at night, put the lights on. 1/3 of my team would be flooding so they can build the ice up so we can skate the following week. Another group came in at 2 in the morning, And then the third group came in at 5 o'clock in the morning. After 1 week of flying, we had enough ice for us to skate. Ice wasn't very good, but was better than not skating at all. Those months were tough, especially like in February when we're ready for playoffs. Now the sun is up. We go down the rink, and it's slush and water. So we got to skate in the morning. All right, 5:30 locker room, 6 o'clock on the ice, put the lights on, and warm up the goalies, firing the pucks up against the boards. Everybody on Concord Ave across the street, the lights were going on. They're peeking through the curtains, wondering what's happened. Well, the high school hockey team is practicing. That's the only time we had the ice. Braemar Arena is the one thing that put us over the top. We went from a 2-line hockey team to a 3-line hockey team. We had 3 Ds in the early days. Finally, we got 4, then 5. Finally, we got 6, just like an NHL team. So Braemar Arena is one reason why we could compete with the northern teams. We had some great games, great support, a lot of overtime games. I remember my wife, Lori, she used to have nice brown hair. We went 5 consecutive overtime games. Now she has gray hair. That's the life of a coach's wife, I guess. But Braemar Arena is the one thing that put us over the top. The number one cause of Edina, we said it many times, is the youth program. The heroes are the coaches that coach in that youth program. They give us the top players. Once we got Braemar, they gave us better players, and then we could compete with the best teams in the state of Minnesota. I was a lucky man to get this job. It's the only job I had, but I'll tell you one thing. I learned more hockey in the first year I coached than the 25 years I played. A little bit different. When you're a player, you play. When you're a coach, you put that whistle on your neck and you got 18 kids to worry about, and that is a job. But I enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ike. There's one personality, or maybe two, that aren't speaking today that were in the film. Is Casey Dornbach here? Casey? Could we have any Edina boys varsity or JV players please stand? Are there any here? Boys varsity, JV? Woo! All right. You're the guys. How about girls varsity girls? Any girls varsity or JV girls here today? Okay. One other person I just wanted to quickly comment on is Bob Coteen. And anytime you have a park named after you, you're probably somebody pretty special. But, you know, to wrap it all up, you saw Bob in those early years. And during this process, I found a program from a 1970 All Edina Hockey Banquet of Champions. Every year we used to have a banquet at the end of the year for all the teams, the championship teams. Maybe second place qualified, I'm not sure, but they're mostly championship teams. Bob received a plaque in 1970 from the Edina Hockey Association, and it read very simply, "The man who's always there to keep the hockey program going." So that's 1970. That was 20 years before a lot of us, a lot of you, were even born. Bob Coteen, could you please stand? Okay. So now, next we do have the godfather of Minnesota hockey. Lou really needs no introduction as well. He's Sweet Lou from the Sioux, and you'll be seeing him shortly at the Lou Nanne Steakhouse, which happens to be right next to Tradition Capital and Tradition Mortgage and Tradition Wealth Management, right where the old Macaroni Grill was and Centennial Lakes. But what a special guy. Actually, he never even won a state tournament here in Minnesota, but he happened to have a son and 2 grandsons that won 4. And so, without further ado, the godfather of Minnesota hockey, Lou Nanne.
Thank you very much, Bruce. If I were to interview each and every one of you today, I could use the same question. What does it feel like to be part of a community that has the best state high school hockey teams in the history of Minnesota hockey? 12 state championships. That's amazing. The next closest, by the way, is 7. And so when you look at it, you've got something to be proud of. And this took a lot of work, a lot of dedication by a lot of people. Because there's no pill, there's no drink that's magic that makes someone successful. And Ike talks about when he first came here. I remember in 1964, he had me come over to work out with his team on the outdoor ice, and I said, what am I doing here? I thought I got rid of this stuff, but I moved to Edina in 1964 because I heard they were going to build a rink, and I had 3 children, Michelle, Michael, and Mark. Marty was still an afterthought. But this was the first rink in Minneapolis, outside of DuPont. Edina was ahead of its time, and it just continues to be ahead of its time. When I turned pro in 1968, right after the Olympics, that first season, 67, 68, there was 1 American in the league at that time, Tommy Williams. 2 other college players besides me, Lou Angotti, Red Berenson. Today, 23% of the players playing in the National Hockey League today are American, 49% Canadian. It's gone from 99.9 tenths down to 49, up from 1 player to 23%. 220 college players played in the National Hockey League last year. And all that stems from programs like this throughout the United States, and there's no real good hockey program in Canada. So this is the best hockey program in North America. And it comes from the people in the community. You often say, is it bottom up or top down? But I tell people it starts, first of all, from the parents. Because successful parents live in this community, and the kids, if they want to be successful, where are they going to make their mark? And it's going to be in sports, because everybody knows about sports in Edina. And hockey happens to be at the top of the rung. So the kids come with a work ethic from their parents, and then they get coaching from kids that have played here, pros. I used to tell my players when I was signing them, buy a house in Edina. It's good for your kids to play sports, and if I trade you, you'll sell it fast. And a lot of guys, my teammates, Murray Oliver, Teddy Hampson, Cesar Maniago, we all lived here. Curt, when he came here, all my players, I used to tell them to buy in Edina. And then these guys come back and give back. And high school players from Edina, as you saw on the screen, come back and give back. And the kids themselves, it was like when I was growing up in the Sioux, I always wanted to be a Greyhound, the senior team. The kids themselves here always want to be a Hornet, successful. And now we got the girls program being successful as well. Success breeds success. And I have to tell you, as a player, one of the most proud moments you're ever going to have is going to the state tournament when 3,000 people are for you and 15,000 people are against you. I have to tell you, that's really an experience. I experienced it growing up. I don't know if we lost 2 games in 6 years, but we'd play a team from outside of Sault Ste. Marie. There'd be 500 Italians for us and 3,500 people cheering for Sudbury or Oshawa or someplace. It's really a feather in your cap that everybody wants to beat you because everybody envies you. Everybody wants to be like you, but there's only one in the state with 12 championships. And look at the peewees and mites and squirts and bantams, boys and girls teams that are successful. It just feeds upon itself. And I'm happy to say I'm here to watch it. I'll be here to broadcast it. And I'm here to revel in your success. Thank you very much.
Great job. Thanks so much, Lou. Just out of curiosity, is Murray Williamson here? Okay, well, I'm going to recognize that we happen to have this is kind of an interesting fact. We have only 6 individuals with Edina ties in the USA Hockey Hall of Fame. 6 individuals, 1 team that Jenny Potter was on as a team. But as far as the individuals go, could we just have you please stand? Willard Ikola, USA Hockey Hall of Fame, Lou Nanne, Dr. George Nagabads. George Nagabads, doctor of the 1980 Olympic team, my personal doctor at the University of Minnesota, and I can't tell you how many times I got stitched up on his kitchen table before face masks. Thanks, U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. And then also from Edina Roots, we have Walter Bush and Murray Williamson, and the only player, Bill Nyrop. Bill Nyrop happens to be on your cover. If you did notice, that's his image. Bill Nyrop graduated in 1970, was on the first state championship team in 1969, and he happens to have 3 Stanley Cup rings to his credit. Unfortunately, his life was ended at a young age of 43, 20 years ago. So thank you, Bill. One other little trivia, the inside cover, that happens to be Larry Johnson, also USA Hockey, not Hall of Fame, but coach and so forth. So those were the days. And now, next we're going to move on to our next speaker. And girls hockey, a lot of people don't realize, really started in the 70s. Bob Coteen was a big part of that, and helping people, the girls get equipment. And then the EGAA began in about the mid-70s. Then it lost steam, and then it was competed with the varsity sport of ringette. They were going to consider ringette. And the EHA finally had a girls team in 1993, 94. The first high school team here was 1995, 96. And then it really got going in Edina with guys like Scott McGarvey, Steve Brown, and others when we had an all-girls mite program starting in 2002. The 1998 Miss Hockey from Burnsville, Laura. Laura is a U of M captain for the Gophers. She's been here for 7 years. She's gone to the state tournament 5 of those 7 times. She has never lost the first game in a state tournament, 2 seconds and 3/3. And she, even though she's been here 7, she missed 1 year due to breaking her neck, and she's back. And if you watch the video closely, you'll know that she's the winner for saying City of Hockey. Laura Slominski.
First of all, thank you very much for putting on this event tonight, or this morning, I guess. And thank you to all you guys for coming out. Obviously, it's a holiday where we're celebrating everything we're thankful for. And one thing I always do on Thanksgiving is I reflect on my life, where I'm at, and everything that I do appreciate. And I couldn't ask for a better place to spend my morning than right here, looking out at all of you guys, because every day I believe that I have the best job in the world, and that is to teach and coach in Edina. And it's because of the parents, the families, and the community that makes it the job that it is. I often get asked the question, why Edina? When you grow up outside, it's not always looked well upon when you join the Edina community. But when I reflect on that question, my answer is always, why not? Why wouldn't you want to be part of something as special as this? I grew up in a time where the girls' hockey programs across the state were still in its infancy. And I grew up watching the boys' high school hockey teams, and Edina was always front and center. So I'm a person who I believe that using the tradition that has been laid before you and what the boys' program has established, and now carrying that over to our girls' program is really the way to believe and live in yourselves. When we talk to our girls, we talk about the pride and tradition, not only of the boys' program, but of this community in town. And we encourage them to be a part of that tradition and now to establish their own. My biggest draw was to go be a part of what the boys have created, but to help create and expand on that for the girls' side. As has been mentioned a few times, when I think about why Edina girls hockey can be what it is today, it's 100% because of all of the people who have put in time and effort and energy to help build the youth foundation. My first year here 8 years ago was one of the first times we had a group of those girls from that very first all-girls mite team, that a group of parents came together and said, we need to have this for our girls to be successful. And since that moment, since having that group come through, we've been able to have the success that we have. So girls, continue to play. Thank you to everyone for not only supporting Edina hockey, but specifically Edina girls hockey. And I wish you guys all a great Thanksgiving. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Laura. Okay, now we're moving on to our final speaker, and he too needs no introduction. A real pro's pro, 9 state tournament appearances, 3 state champions. He personally was a 2-time All-American, but I think as you saw in the film today, a gentleman that really has a love for the game, a passion for the game, makes kids accountable, and likes to have fun. Curt Giles, coach.
Thank you. First of all, you take a look at the panel over here. You take a look at what Willard has accomplished and over the years and those types of things. And as Willard spoke earlier, he talks about the support, he talks about the people, he talks about the kids, he talks about the city. You know, we get the same question every time we go. We associate with a number of coaches around the state of Minnesota, and they always seem to ask the same question, which Laura referred to, why Edina? How do you put up with that? The parents must be unbearable. It must be the worst place to coach. When actually it's the opposite. It's the best place to coach. The parents are supportive, the city's supportive. I mean, look at our facilities. Look at these facilities. These facilities are second to none to anywhere in not only the United States, but North America. We've seen so many facilities. We have great opportunities here. We have great kids. I mean, that's the key to this whole thing for me. I mean, I take a look at this thing. When I first moved into the city of Edina, my wife's from here, and she says, we're moving to Edina. I go, why? And she says, well, I'll tell you one thing right now. The school system's the best in the state. The school system's the best. The people are the best. The city is the best. And you want to know what? It's true. There's no question about that. We take a look at this support that we get here from the parents, from the youth program, from everybody. I mean, this isn't about us, this isn't about me, it's not about what we do here, it's about what the kids have created and what you have created for your kids and for this entire city. And that's what's so enjoyable about being here. Louis refers to successful people breed success. There's no question about that. But there's passion in this city for everything. It comes from the mayor, it comes from Susie here at the facilities here, Larry, who was here for a long period of time with the facilities he created here too as well. I see people here in the crowd here that were here years and years and years ago, and they still have that feeling that this is home. And that's what's so important for us to get to these kids, is the history of Edina. Not just Edina hockey, but the history of the city of Edina, and the success that it breeds, and the expectations for them, and what we expect from them to follow your footsteps. And you people have created this for your kids, and we can't appreciate it any more than you have any idea. So I can't thank you enough for coming out. I can't thank you enough for your support. We can't thank you enough for the facilities and the time you put in and the money that you put into this program. So it's a great program, it's a great city, and it's all due to you people. So thank you very much.
Okay, speaking of pros, we have about 10 or 12 pros. Are there any here? Ben Hankinson, or any, do we have any pros? Actually, I know we have one female pro of the new pro leagues, Corinne Bowie. If you could please stand, and Corinne Bowie. They're actually playing a pro game at Ritter Arena, and you can grab a flyer on the way out in a couple of weeks. That should be very interesting. I mentioned Bill Nyer up with 3 Stanley Cups. We also had Dave Maley with 1 Stanley Cup, so I think that's pretty interesting. Hey guys, we're in overtime, and I know there's nothing better than a short overtime. You want to get that over, and you want to get it done. So interestingly enough, Edina does hold a state tournament record for the most consecutive overtimes, 5. And I happen to have played in 4 of them. I had a brother that played in all 5. 1969, 70, and 71, there was a string of 5 consecutive games in overtime. So I know about how we like to get those things over. Real quick, has anybody ever heard of the Edina Historical Society? Does anybody know where it is? Does anyone know where it is? It's at Arneson Acres, that little building, that 14-acre building. That's our museum. That's the museum. We have an exhibit that the history of all our artifacts for the next 10 months on Saturdays and Thursdays. That will be open. This Saturday, there's a sneak preview with the exhibitor, T.J. Molesky. He's a cultural historian with the Minnesota Historical Society. He's the exhibitor and designer. And so you'll certainly want to get over to the Edina Historical Society. We have the videos, and you'll certainly want to see the artifacts. And one other thing, $25 to be a member to the Edina Historical Society. $25. We need members, and I think hockey can help out. And you'll be impressed. We've really refreshed that museum, and I think it'll be worth it. There's also a permanent exhibit of Edina there, and interestingly enough, Edina won its first state championship in 1969, and Bob Coteen was a founder of the Edina Historical Society in 1969. So it's not that old, only 45 years. Okay, before we get to our last speaker, I'd just like to say personally, as a fan, as a player, as a coach, as an administrator, a historian, and back to fan, I've personally experienced every year except 2 of Edina hockey. And it is a beautiful tradition. Pass it on. Next, we have Dick Emahiser to speak to the empty chair. As we all know, we recently lost Bob O'Connor. I'll also like to mention that Bart Larson was not able to attend today. His wife insisted he go to Colorado for Thanksgiving, so Bart wasn't able to be with us today. However, we are fortunate to have Dick Emahiser. He is just one of about a handful of people with Edina roots that has won the Minnesota President's Award. We also have Tom Slaird is here. Tom Slaird, Pete Lindbergh, Dan Pavick, Walter Bush, Wynn Stevens, and this gentleman, Dick Emahiser. Dick Emahiser started the Eden Prairie Hockey Association and was head coach there since 1972 for 17 years. But then he came over to the bubble and coached for 4 years with Bob O'Connor with the JVs. And he is a USA coaching education program instructor. So we're so fortunate to have the final word by Dick Emahiser.
Thank you. Curt, I hope you win all your games this year except 2. And I'll be sitting up with Ike over there, kind of being neutral in that game. But I think a lot of you know that Bobby and I were very close. And when we kind of knew his time was coming to an end on this earth, I sat down with him last spring and I go, okay, what projects do we need to get done? What needs to happen in hockey? And so on. And OC said, we got to energize this game. We got to make sure that people understand that this is the best game in the world, and it is. In the tradition here, I've always said Minnesota hockey is an island in itself. Well, at the core of that is Edina. The tradition, the coaches, it's the only hockey association that they have a waiting list for guys that want to coach teams. All the other associations are begging people to come out because you come back. You have a very, very good core value system here, and it's a great place to raise young people. So here's one of the projects. It's all it is, it says, just say wow. So we've been talking about that, and I go, OC, where does this belong? At USA Hockey, Minnesota Hockey, or Edina Hockey? Well, it's pretty evident where wow comes from. It comes from Edina. All right? So basically, I tried this out. I was working with a bunch of little squirt kids this fall that were having difficulty skating, and we had a half dozen lessons. In the last lesson, it was kind of graduation. I said to the kids, who wants to demonstrate certain drills? And all these kids raised their hands, and they did it. And finally, the last drill, the worst kid on the ice says, I'm going to do it. And I go, oh boy. Well, he went 10 feet and fell. I went over to kind of pat him on the back, and I said, that's okay. And he looked me square in the eye, and he goes, no, I'm going to do this. And he finally got down to the other end, and I yelled, wow. Instant smile went on his face. All the kids tapped their sticks, and all the parents in the stands stood up and applauded. Now that's what it's all about, and that's what Edina is. Unbelievable. So I want everybody to stand up. Stand up. This is for Edina. This is for OC. This is for you and what you've accomplished. On the count to 3, you're going to yell wow. Now you're going to yell wow like you really mean it. You're going to show OC that he is so proud of this place and what it's done. So on the count of 3, I want to see it with your voice, with your body image, and we're just going to yell wow, because you've all deserved it. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Wow! Thank you.
That's it. Thanks so much. Tradition. Pass it on.